Good evening, everyone. I am Angela Gagg, and you're watching Influential Dubai. We're broadcasting from the VMC TV studios right here in the United Arab Emirates. Having a media platform gives me a personal responsibility to use my voice and give back to society. I use my voice to send messages to my viewers, and I give back to society by inviting successful entrepreneurs, remarkable individuals, businesses, celebrities, artists, and entertainers onto the show. And today is no exception, as I'm joined in the studio with a dynamic artist, the first NFT artist in the UAE. And she's here today, a pioneer in the Web3 community. She's an award-winning NFT artist, and her name is Amrita. Amrita, welcome to Influential Dubai. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. And what an introduction. I mean, just watching you, you are amazing.
Oh, thank
I mean,
you.
you command and the way you project your voice and the style in which you talk. Wow.
Woo, thank you. Wow.
Amazing.
I never got that before.
Well, you got to show love and appreciate when something's good.
Well, absolutely. And I think perhaps one of the reasons my intro was so strong is because I have a very strong, talented, successful woman sitting across from me here right now.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that we're finally on the show.
Yes, yes.
I know it's been amongst so many Web3 events, conferences, talking on panels, being here and there. And yet I always say you save the best for last, and I'm so glad that I'm finally here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm really glad to have you. It is true, guys. I've been inviting Amrita on for, I think, 2 years. You're finally here with me now, so I'm very honored, and it's a privilege to have you in the studios.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, the last 2 years, and we can talk about that obviously, it's just been the biggest whirlwind.
Yeah.
But very grateful for the whirlwind.
So we are going to talk about you, your accelerating career, everything that you have going on in the Web3, blockchain, NFT space. But before we do that, let's learn a little bit about the woman behind all of about that. Tell us a little bit about you, Amrita, where you come from, and your upbringing.
Yeah. So my name's Amrita, and I was born in Kenya actually, and
okay.
but I'm of Indian origin. So those who I'm kind of the product of, the lack of a better word, of the British colonialism, right? So, the Brits went and colonized, India back in the day. And, India is a very large country, and it was very networked around the train and the railway system. So obviously the Indians had experience in building that. And then they went to Kenya, to Africa. And obviously Kenya is an entry point into a landlocked continent,
right,
where they needed a lot of railway. So they took a lot of Indians from India who had experience, brought them to Kenya, and then that's how I ended up in Kenya. So I'm a third generation Indian Kenyan.
Okay.
And I spent most of my life in Kenya, but my father worked for the UN, so we traveled, we lived in Zimbabwe and Uganda as well, but predominantly in Africa. And then I finished university. And I mean, I love Kenya, but obviously at that time, now I wish to go back, but at that time I was like 18, I was ready to go. And I went to very British schools, right? So you have this, from a very young age, you kind of look up to the UK as this land of greatness. And so I was so happy to kind of go away to the UK and study there, which I loved. Obviously, I did a degree in economics and a master's in development economics, and now I'm an artist.
I was just going to say, so you did not study art at all.
No art, no entrepreneurship.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever think back then that you'd be where you are now?
Oh my God, no, absolutely not. In fact, I was just thinking that yesterday to myself. I'm like, if my younger me could see me now, it would just be. And in fact, I was thinking, obviously I keep in touch with a lot of people from my high school, but I would be interested to see what some of them think, but I was always very artistic at school.
Right.
And so I think some of them, would probably be, would say, yeah, actually that completely makes sense that now she's an artist. But actually along the way, a lot of people who've known me before are like, how did you go from being a banker to an artist? And
right. So
yeah.
After school, you actually went into finance and was an actual banker for a few years.
Yeah. It's like,
And then you're just like, I'm done. I'm gonna be an artist. Bye, everybody.
yeah, kind of in a
Yeah.
nutshell. In a nutshell. And yeah, I mean, I went to the UK, then I got a job in London. I worked for a big bank like Barclays Bank.
Wow.
Right next to Harrods, which was sometimes an occupational hazard of all
Yeah.
the shopping that one would do.
You're right.
And then I just I got a bit tired of the cold weather because you grew up as well in a hot climate. I grew up in
Absolutely.
a hot climate or a warm climate, and I was like, I just need to get out of this cold weather. So I got offered a job with HSBC at the time, and they gave me 5 locations, and this was back in 2007. They said you could either go to Hong Kong, Singapore, Dubai, or South Africa. And at first I thought, oh, let me go to South Africa because I understand it, and South Africa's beautiful.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, don't go to Hong Kong and Singapore because it's very hard to, I was single at the time, might be hard for you to get married.
Oh, no.
But the old aunties like, don't go,
Yeah.
Sydney auntie from Dubai would say, don't go to. And then they said, well, Dubai is a happening place, and Dubai was really booming. Just before 2008 crash, but it was booming in 2006 and 2007.
Yes, it was.
And again, this wasn't the time where you had well, you did, but it wasn't so, I would still have to have bought a book to find out about what was happening in Dubai. And I just decided, I was like, yeah, that's it. Let's just, go to Dubai. And when I first came here, I mean, the Burj Khalifa hadn't been built.
I didn't know that you weren't with him yet, with your husband before you moved here.
Oh, no.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, I had single life in Dubai.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Pre-Tinder days.
Oh,
where,
wow.
Where women had all the control.
Yeah,
say.
true.
And yeah, so then I worked with HSBC here. Then I moved to Switzerland because I wanted to progress in my banking career. I came back to Dubai because I didn't quite like the cold weather of Switzerland.
Yeah.
There's a pattern here.
Yes.
And then I came back to Dubai, worked for Zurich Insurance, and then I just decided that I'm quite adventurous. I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I wanted to kind of do something for my own. I wanted to feel that entrepreneurial feel. So actually, I left my company to actually go do something, but in finance, but be an entrepreneur in the financial world.
Okay.
And in that time gap, when you just have some time to just chill, then I was like, okay, I was chilling, I got some inspiration, and then boom, I created my art concept called Voice No Art, which now I call Soundbites, and realized nobody had ever done it before.
Amazing. Yeah, it is really, really cool. Why don't we just focus on the art a bit? Let's start talking a little bit about, well, first of all, before we get into the gist of it, what exactly is even an NFT?
Oh, okay.
First and foremost, I mean, we're going to talk about all of your art and everything that you're doing, but for our viewers watching who are not familiar with this whole concept of, digital art, what exactly is an NFT?
Yeah, so an NFT is, I mean, I don't know who decided to name it this, but it says non-fungible token. And in layman's terms, I think the best way to think about it is that you have a digital asset, just like a photo, or if I draw something digitally, then I've got something, but all of a sudden, it's a digital asset. So I can send it to you by email, I can put it on my Instagram, and then all of a sudden, it can just be duplicated like infinitely. And unlike a physical artwork, you've painted the physical artwork and there's only one of the physical artwork effectively. And then you can take a picture of the physical artwork and then that picture can be replicated along a lot as well, just on a digital asset, but you still have the physical one-of-one original piece.
Right.
So then what happened and it was a big problem for digital artists before, it's like, well, how can I've created this one piece, but it's digital, so the minute I send it out, there's no proof that I was the first creator of this.
That's true.
And so what this, and I know you've been an artist before, so you completely, relate to what I'm saying. And so what this is like somebody coming and giving that digital artwork a stamp and, a code that then says that this is, a unique or one of one, and how they do it is that you mint it into the blockchain, it gets an original stamp, and then it makes it one of one. And it just becomes original, just like, a physical art piece.
Right.
And then that gives you the right to be able to sell it, trade it, and for somebody to be able to own it, knowing that they have the first artwork.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love it.
So hopefully that, and I think, you know, that explains it for art, but you can do it for everything else, like, you know, documents, real estate, and so it'll eventually, I mean, it started off with art because obviously that was the biggest push notification, I would say, to the world when, you know, Beeple sold his work for $69 million. And everybody was like, you know, what's an NFT? And so, but actually NFTs are going to have a very big role in all parts of our society.
Right.
And I think that in the future, I think it will just be kind of layered in, and it won't necessarily always be called an NFT, but actually it will be an NFT.
Correct. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So from what I understand as well, you actually have your own NFT community.
Yeah.
You have your own community. Tell us a little bit about how that feels, how that works, and what exactly it is to have an NFT community by yourself.
So yeah, I mean, my NFT community is called the Bike Club. You know, first rule of the Bike Club is you don't talk about the Bike Club.
Yes.
No, I need to
Okay.
really, but I just love Fight Club.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
one of my top favorite movies, by the way. And so my community is called the Bike Club. And the reason why it's called Bite is because actually my art style that I originally created was called voice note art. And then I rebranded it to Sound Bite because it sounds cooler.
It is cooler. And then you put the BY,
Yeah,
right?
BYT.
Yeah, I love
you know,
it.
We gotta keep it real.
Alpha Bytes.
Yeah,
You have-
exactly.
yeah.
Alpha Bytes. And I exactly. So I created Sound Bytes. I created another collection called the Alpha Bytes. I've got the Crystal Bytes. I've got AI Bytes now. And I've got my fashion collection as well, which I call my fashion bytes.
The augmented reality fashion pieces, right?
Yeah. And so I've obviously got, you know, and to its core, sound is what runs through, you know, all of my artwork. And so I then took obviously the word bite and created my Bike Club. And with the Bike Club, I think it's kind of harks back to, it's obviously got a lot of, you know, it's got a lot of Web3 connotation, like an NFT community, or, you know, a community where you hang out and it becomes very, you know, Web3. But actually, if you look at its origins, as an artist, you've always had your collectors, right?
True.
You've always had people, you know, for generations, so the top artists have always had people who've collected their work, people who've followed, you know, necessarily who may not maybe have bought a piece, but they're following your journey.
Right.
They're part of your community. And I think with the Web 2 world, that's called patronage, or it's called collectors, or something like that, right? And it's more impossible because of the lack of technology to organize that community, because you'll have somebody here, there. There's, you know, that's then obviously emails came out, maybe you do a newsletter, you know, you have social media, so people can also follow you there. But the great thing about what Web3 is doing is that with more like this kind of, with the blockchain, with NFTs, that you're able to, I would say, organize your community a lot better. And so this is where I think a lot of people, and I think this is where brands are beginning to understand it, where, you know, where you can take your community that you weren't calling it a community because Web 2 doesn't, or your consumer base or your followers, but you can organize them in a way that anybody who then has your NFT becomes part of that club.
Yeah.
And that kind of happens in the Web 2 space. Like you own a Rolex or a Ferrari, you're in the club, right?
Right.
And obviously the way you see it is because everyone can see you're wearing a Rolex or a Ferrari, or you've got a Picasso on your wall, right?
Right.
Whereas obviously the new way is actually you have an NFT in your wallet, you're part of the club. Now, you're now part of the club. I'm holding an event. I want to give you some rewards. It's easier for me to be able to just airdrop it, put it into and organize your community.
Not to cut you off, but for the viewers watching, when you say wallet, people who are, you know, not familiar with the terminology might think a physical wallet, but you actually mean that wallet like a MetaMask or what?
So
just because remember, a lot of people who will watch this won't necessarily be up on the terms, so.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, education is key. And
Absolutely.
We'll talk about that as well, but honestly, like, I mean, a wallet
is... A digital wallet.
Yeah, a digital wallet, right?
Okay,
where
good.
you're able to hold your NFT. So all of these stamped digital tokens
Correct,
that you
yeah.
have, you need to put them somewhere, right? And so you're putting that digital stamped token into a wallet, and not everybody, so everyone can see your wallet, right? So everyone can see what's in it, but other people can't have it. So like if you say, so that's why a lot of people go, well, I mean, I could just take a, right click and save this image. Yes, you can.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
not the same,
in
yeah.
your wallet.
Correct.
You can't sell that.
Correct.
Right? And so having a wallet, you have lots of different wallet providers, but obviously MetaMask is a very popular one where you're able to just go, and it takes 30 seconds to open the wallet, and then you could either have an NFT drop in, or you actually buy an NFT and that sits in the wallet.
Right.
And that's different to then, your money on your screen in a bank, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. A lot of sense. So tell me something, as a digital artist, do you actually still do and promote and have art exhibitions?
Yes, I'm a big one on physical and digital.
Okay.
So there's, so a new word is the phygital.
Oh, okay,
so it's a
cool.
mixture between physical and digital. So I mean, I would consider myself also a phygital artist.
Okay.
Because NFTs are a medium, effectively. So when I've created my artwork digitally, I can actually show it as NFT, which will be a digital asset, or I can make it into a physical artwork, or I can paint a mural, or I can make a sculpture, I can make a fashion item. So these are just mediums of which to showcase my art. But what I like to do, and I think my signature style, is being able to, I would say, represent the next generation of artists, where we're able to combine the digital and the physical experience. And so, I recently had an exhibition at Dubai Mall at the NFT store. And I released my latest collection, which I called AI Bites, where I use artificial intelligence with my soundbite style. And in that, what I did is I said, okay, fine. Well, I first used AI to create part of the artwork.
Okay.
I then made a digital artwork with my soundbites on it, on top of it, wrote on top. Then I made it into a physical artwork.
Okay.
I then layered on augmented reality, which is a digital experience, onto the physical artwork.
Very cool.
I held an in real life exhibition where I invited people to come in and promote, and actually, no, just not even promote, just actually explain the art.
Yeah.
Because it was a new concept. And then now, if you buy the NFT, you get the physical artwork.
Excellent.
So it's this interplay constantly between the digital and the physical.
Right. I love it. That's really cool. And I think that's something that makes you unique and stand out in basically the NFT space, is because a lot of people in layman's terms think of NFTs and they'll think of the Bored Ape Yacht Club and they'll think of Clone X's and they'll think of just, some people reference them as stickers. They don't really understand. But you're doing something so unique and so different, and that has value. Because you not only do you have the physical, you have not only do you have the digital, you have the physical.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for, let's say, the old school collectors.
Yes.
Or people of the past, the older generation who don't really want to get into that digital world. Well, guess what, guys? We can give you both.
Yeah, completely. And I think that, I wanted to touch on the topic that you just said, is like the Bored Apes and Clone X. These are NFT projects, and I'm an NFT artist. And I think there's been, obviously I became an NFT artist as the first NFT artist way before all of these 10,000, generative art pieces like the Bored Apes, and started it becoming, this kind of big community, and all of that happened. And so I kind of looked at amazement when this was happening, but it started to remind me of my financial days, right? Where, all of a sudden you had digital assets that became unique and rare, because obviously they became tokenized with that token stamp on that. And then all of a sudden, you started to have liquidity, because you've got 10,000 of these unique and rare pieces, which are one of ones, which is own individual token. And people start trading them. And so actually it didn't become about the art, so to speak.
Right.
People were getting into it because it was, let's try and make some money. And people did, of course, make money, because, you get in at the bottom, people trade, but then you always have the bag holder who's left at the highest amount, and then everybody sells, and then boom, the people who've made their profits, and it's ended. And so and I was like, this is heading for that kind of crash.
Right.
And I said that I didn't want to be part of that because that's not what I represent. I'm an artist and I'm here in this business for the long term. But what unfortunately happened was there were some amazing things about, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing things about NFT projects because it does show and signify, I think, a real change in the fundamental way we're going to organize society and community. There was a really historical and cultural and artistic, I said, significance of what happened, and things like the Bored Ape Yacht Club, things like the CryptoPunks, they're holding their value because they were the first.
Right,
of that
right,
kind,
absolutely.
Right? So there's some amazing things because it does show the power of blockchain, does show the power of Web3 and how we're going to fundamentally reorganize society. But then it had the downside of it being unregulated. And the problem is people who were in the niche, people who were in the know, they were trading, then the masses or the Web2 space started to take notice. They jumped in on the party, but then they got to the party a bit too late.
Right, yes.
And we don't want to ever be that person who's the last one at the party. And then that's what happened. And then obviously that then affected, I would say mass view of it. And then obviously everything fell down and people have NFTs that are of no value. And where I could see all of this happening. And I think that with my art, what I try to do is, I'm like, okay, because I do understand that it needs this bridge because we're not quite there yet. So if you buy your NFT, you get a physical artwork.
Yes, I love it.
So you still feel that you've got that value and you've got something physical and tangible to show. But also,
not only do they get a physical, they also get a membership to your club.
Yes, I was
so
just
there's
gonna
more
say
than
that.
just that. It's like it's a whole organization that you have established.
And you're 100% right. And I'm so glad you said that because ultimately by buying my NFT, you are then part of my community and you're part of my growth as an artist. Like
Correct.
anyone who's seen me for the last couple of years, my work was this, and now I sell it at a certain price. I would never sell it at that price. And everything that I now am doing, I'm building, and I'm also building in a way that I'm going to be developing an amazing ecosystem that I'm going to give back to my collectors.
Amazing.
And especially those who've supported me right from the beginning. And so it's like watching a person or a brand grow, and you're literally having your little bit of equity stake into that person in the nicest way. But that's what collectors have done over time. They see an artist, they support the artist, but they're not around. But the only difference is you're not in the community where everybody else is also supporting that artist. But now all of a sudden you can, and then that also becomes an ecosystem in itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'd rather have 10,000 people own one of individual artworks that I've put out throughout all of my collections to make a 10,000 collection than do one project where I release 10,000
I
NFTs.
absolutely agree with you on that. And I also understand you've put out a new website and you've rebranded as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I'm so excited. It's actually just launched today. So
Oh!
this is a very, it's a lucky day, of course,
Yes.
as well on the show.
Perfect.
And because actually going back to my journey is that I didn't ever decide on becoming an artist. Like, the artist was my side hustle. Everybody now does side hustles. That was officially my side hustle. Even to the point where I was telling people that, guys, I'm creating this artwork. And my friends and family just like, you've lost the plot, or it's quite cute, and it's so sweet. So I was like, you know what, I don't need any sandbaggers. I'm just going to go and build my website. So back in 2019, I built my website in the most, I've never built a website. It was so it was old school, it was OG. But then I realized that I hadn't had time because the last couple of years have been so crazy to rebrand. So I've rebranded to Amrita, and you know, I've put some pretty cool, like, it's got a cool kind of futuristic vibe to it.
To
so
check
go
it out. What is it, Amrita?
It's at artbyamrita.com.
Artbyamrita.com. Okay.
Or I'm also slowly moving to amrita.art.
Okay,
as well.
very cool,
And so,
very
so
cool.
either one you can.
Either of
go
them
to.
work. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, the metaverse is typically, you know, Web3 is typically associated with purples and blues and pinks and oranges, but this time I kind of went with green. So, you know, I got my my Nike Airs, like I'm branded
Nice,
up
nice, nice.
from that. But yeah, I'm super excited. So definitely go and check out the website.
I will. And you've also launched something called the Byte Academy.
Yeah, so the Byte Academy, so, you know, just how today, giving a little bit of a bite-sized learning about what's an NFT, you know, what's a hard wallet, what's a cold wallet. I just got, over the years, I've been inundated by people saying, you know, Amrita, could you just teach us what are NFTs? How do I make an NFT? What is Bitcoin?
How do you even set up a MetaMask? I think there's so many people that don't even know how to do this in itself.
100%.
Right?
So, and I've done a couple of those videos, right?
Okay.
So like if you go on my YouTube channel, which is Amrita, you know, Art by Amrita, you know, you can go and actually see some of my OG YouTube videos of me showing people how to do a MetaMask wallet.
Oh, cute. I want to check it out.
But then I thought, okay, well, actually, you know, let me go and do this a little bit properly, right? So I've created my, you know, online learning platform called the Byte Academy. And I'm going to be uploading, obviously, those videos there as well. So bite-sized learnings, but I'm also curating longer courses.
Okay.
So there's so many courses out there. And what I do is I go and look for the best ones and then say, okay, look, this is a good course. And, you know, because obviously you don't know where to start. So, and ironically, the first course that I'm doing isn't on NFTs. It's actually on blockchain. Because I think it's really important that people understand the fundamentals of blockchain and also things like wallets, how to open a wallet, what's the different chains. So get your knowledge perfectly right first before we can then build on that.
Right, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Tell me something, would you give any particular advice to, let's say, any of the young people watching? I mean, because you are extremely passionate, and that's obvious. I mean, anybody who's watching you or who knows you in person or who's seen you on stage, you're an excellent speaker. You are very passionate about what you're doing. Do you have any advice for people looking up to you, at you right now?
Yeah, I mean, the advice I can give is what I live by, right? Is that I let my passion drive my curiosity that then drives my creativity, right? So, and what I mean by that is, like, you know, obviously I have probably too many creative ideas all the time. I need to bring them back. But, like, you know, when I'm like, and I get into my creative mode, I'm like, can I do this? How can I do that? So I become curious as to be like, okay, look, I know that I want it to look like this. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen before. So it's not like I can, you know, take a screenshot and send it to, like, you know, a tech guy or send it to the graphic designer and say, can you make something? What I have is in my head.
Right.
So I'm just like, okay, well, how can I go and make this possible? So then I go and find out, like, how can I, you know, what do I need to do this? So my curiosity of how tech works. I am not, you know, you heard just now, I'm an economist.
Yeah.
I'm a trained, and I've done a master's
banker.
in development economics.
Yeah.
I am not a techie, and I'm not an artist.
Yes.
And yet what I do is I teach myself enough, because, you know, I still, you know, I am of that generation where I still go to YouTube and I like to learn myself. But at the same time, I learned to a certain point to be like, okay, I can kind of do this. I now know that other people who are more tech savvy can do this. Maybe I can get them to help me get this. And then I start to work through. And so I use tech like a tool brush, like a digital tool brush to enhance, you know, my original creativity, and think, what can I do that can really bring like a bit of joy and a bit of magic and a bit of, wow, I've never seen that before. And bring a bit of that special thing to adults as obviously well as kids, because kids will be amazed at everything is new.
Yeah.
But with adults, it's nice to put them in a place where they're like, oh, I've not experienced that before.
I like it. I like it. So what's next? Anything upcoming that we can look out and look forward to?
Well, very exciting is, there's no point me launching a Web 2 website.
Okay.
Because obviously, I'm Web 3, right?
Yes, yes.
And so, in the next couple of days, you'll be able to go on my website and you'll be able to jump off the Web 2 world into the Web 3 world.
I'm excited.
So I've got my own Amrita's metaverse, and you'll be able to see my art collections in my metaverse. And I think that what I want to do is, and this is part of how I like to drive mass adoption, like through things like learning and teaching through the Byte Academy, but also just learning by doing and showing. Like a lot of my art collections are ways to showcase the new tech, right? So I believe in change through art and technology.
I love it.
And so for me, everybody gets they get scared about the word metaverse. For me, I'm just showing you that actually it's just the next generation of the internet. So today, if someone says, if we think about what happened in the 1990s when somebody would say, the internet is coming, and can you believe that there's going to be a place where you can put things on the internet?
Yeah.
And you would be able to go, and maybe you might even be able to buy things on the internet. Now, with the metaverse, we are currently today on the internet, we're just up and down. We scroll up and down, and we're an arrow, effectively. So when you're on that thing, we're just an arrow. All the metaverse is the arrow now becomes an avatar of you. And instead of going up and down,
we're
going
there. Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
In and out.
Super cool.
And I eventually will get to a point where my entire website will only be in the metaverse.
So cool.
And I want to just show you a sneak peek of, in fact, maybe even tomorrow you'll be able to jump in straight and go into the metaverse.
Amazing. Love to. I'd love to.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, we are winding down, my love. It was amazing having you on. I feel like I could have you on again and again because there's so much to talk about and so much to continue talking about. And there's only so much time allocated for the show.
But I think you and I
could just sit here.
We could have our own show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, we will call it, we're like, what we said, we're the Betty and Veronica of the Web3 space.
Absolutely. We just need to find our Archie.
Yeah. Call us.
I love it. Babes, any last words for our viewers or anything before we do sign off today?
For me, as I said, I'm somebody who's very passionate about being able to foster change in your life. And I'm a big believer that if you're not happy about where you are, you're always able to go inward, have a bit of a chat with yourself, go and touch your authentic self, and come out and tell a new story. Or if you go in and you're like, no, I got this, come out and inspire others.
I love it.
And I think that life is long and you have ebbs and flows. And that's okay. Just always know who you are, be authentic to yourself, and go and follow your dreams.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Oh,
I love it. Babes, any last words for our viewers or anything before we do sign off today?
For me, as I said, I'm somebody who's very passionate about being able to foster change in your life. And I'm a big believer that if you're not happy about where you are, you're always able to go inward, have a bit of a chat with yourself, go and touch your authentic self, and come out and tell a new story. Or if you go in and you're like, no, I got this, come out and inspire others.
I love it.
And I think that life is long and you have ebbs and flows. And that's okay. Just always know who you are, be authentic to yourself, and go and follow your dreams.